WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station.
Welcome back to your Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. And now we'll talk some Temple basketball with Harry Donahue, who is the play-by-play voice of the Temple Owls. 215-204-9449 is the number if you want to call and hang with us. Harry, Zach Gelb here. How are you?
Zach, always a pleasure. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I was actually on Twitter today, and I saw that President Obama played a round of golf with Tiger Woods over the weekend. How do you think the president's golf game is? I know you're a big golf enthusiast.
Well, having never played with the president, Tiger, that's another thing Tiger has up on me. But he's a left-hander, you know, so he got, I think he had like 5 hours of lessons with one of the best swing instructors around, Butch Harmon and his son on Saturday. That probably got him a little more prepared to go out and take on Tiger. I don't know. I'd love to know if they had anything on the line. You know, Tiger likes to play for a little do-re-mi once in a while. He probably was giving the president a shot and a half a hole. I'd like to know how the Nassau turned out.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to look at it, and it was a big secret, as a lot of people were a little bit perturbed that they didn't find out about it till a little bit later. But you see Tiger Woods, he still needs to win a major coming off this whole scandal, and that's been the most interesting thing to me. Growing up as a kid, watching Tiger Woods on Sunday in that red sweater, there was nothing like it. Tiger's going to be probably coming here to Pennsylvania at Merion. How do you like his chances in the U.S. Open? A little preview about that.
Well, you know, he's never played at Merion. That's probably one of the fewest name courses in the country Tiger's never played. He'll probably get a chance for a practice round before. But, you know, Merion, the knock, if you want to call it that, a lot of people say, well, it's not long enough. Length is not going to be the problem at Merion. It's going to be accuracy. The fairways, they have actually reduced the fairways, Zach. I was out there a couple weeks ago talking to their superintendent. They have narrowed the fairways over the course of 18 holes by 8 acres.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Now, I'll keep in mind, a golf course is spread out over 120 acres. They have narrowed just the fairways alone by 8 acres where rough will come into play. And they're going to grow that rough. You know, it's going to be 6 inches, maybe more in some spots. The greens are going to be fast. They're hoping it's nice and hot. They don't have any rain, that the greens don't get soft. And then distance won't mean anything.
And then also another rigorous aspect of this course is there's no flags and there's actually baskets. How do you determine the wind that way when you're in playing at that course and when you don't have any kind of flags blowing in a direction?
Just like they did back in the day, I guess. You know, you hold your finger up, a little wet spot on the tip, and figure out where it's going. But I don't think that's going to be, that's a novelty, you know. The wicker baskets at Merion, it's a signature for the golf course. And those guys, I think the wind is the least of their concerns.
Harry Donahue joins us here on Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. Zach Gelb here with you. Harry will be on the call this Thursday at the Liacouras Center. Temple to Salle. It is an imperative game for these Temple Owls. Pretty much win or go home. And this Temple team has been very inconsistent as of late. You don't know which team is going to show up and when they will show up, as that was evident by that Duquesne game where they were down 8 points with pretty much a minute 30 to go. Khalif comes back. He takes them up. They put him up by 1. I saw you jumping out of your seat in an exuberant mood. And then all of a sudden they come down the other end, Dalton Pepper fouls, and the Temple Owls go home as a loser, and then they did find a way to beat UMass. I would have to imagine inconsistency has been the big theme here for the Temple Owls so far through the course of this season.
Well, we've had, 5 consecutive games. It's
unheard of.
As far back that they've had at one point. I mean, I don't know how I've survived. You know, it's a lot of heart medicine to get us through this stretch, Zach. But, yeah, inconsistency, and I think this team, my own personal analysis offensively, really lives too much on the perimeter. I mean, when you look at the amount of, and you know, I guess it's a good thing we do because our inside presence hasn't been as strong as it should be. And you know, Khalif is a great shooter. He's probably the best clutch shooter I've seen in a long, long time. But Khalif has put up 162 threes out of 351 shots. I mean, that's just one stat. How about Scootie? Scootie's put up out of 256 shots, 143 of them, he's 6'5", maybe pushing 6'6", strong kid. I would love to see him be more of a slasher than he is. He's standing out there on the perimeter, jacking him up, and we know he's gone through some real cold stretches. The last couple games, and I think he won the game the other day up at UMass with that three. I mean, Wyatt was outstanding again. But Scootie's three, it was their last field goal with 1:25 to go, put them up 4 at the time. Freddie Riley came back and nailed a three for UMass to make it a one-point game, and then nobody scored the rest of the way. But I would have liked to have seen Scootie this year develop more of a presence by taking the ball to the basket and getting to the line instead of standing out there on the perimeter. But, hey, it's too late now, I guess. I don't think anything's going to change here with 5 conference games to go.
You see Scootie Randall playing, and that was the big player that we've heard about. He was coming back from that injury where he took a whole year off. Have you been surprised that he's been playing this poor this year? I would have to imagine you expected him to be a much better player if we had to take you back a few months ago when the season started.
Yeah, well, he got off to a great start, Zach.
He did.
A season, career high, 33 points in his first game against Kent State. And then he has been very inconsistent on the offensive end. And I don't know if it's the layoff from last year that did it. I think, so much of it is confidence. And, maybe that's been his biggest problem. Maybe the layoff contributed to his lack of confidence. It's easy to pin it on sitting out last year, but we still have 5 big games left. And like I said, the other day, Scootie won the ball game for him in crunch time with that three from the corner. And I'm just, hopefully, you need a sports psychologist maybe to say, that's what you want to think about, Scootie. What you did in that one moment with that one shot to win the game. Forget all the other misses, okay? Think about what you did in that situation and let that be your dominant thought for the rest of the season.
Harry Donahue joins us. He'll be on the call for 1210 WPHT coming up on Thursday night at the Liacouras Center. And Harry, things don't get much better than this when you have Khalif Wyatt going up against Ramon Galloway. Just seeing those two players, the way they will run the floor come Thursday night, I would have to imagine you're excited for this one.
Yeah, a lot of people think, not just LaSalle people, that Ramon Galloway may be the player of the year in the Atlantic 10 for what he's done for the Explorers. Of course, people that follow Temple wonder how anybody but Khalif Wyatt could get that honor. But Galloway's been outstanding. I look at this lineup for the Explorers, Zach, and you've probably seen it too. They have 4 players, 3 starters, and then Garland, who, came off the bench most of the time, shooting at better than 42% for the entire season from the field. And Galloway, actually, he's a little under, 41%. You got Tyreek Doran at 44. You got Jarrell Wright, the big guy, shooting at a 54% clip. And this is, they're also a perimeter team. They kind of live by the three as well. But it's going to be as good a matchup, I think. Lucky for Temple, the game is going to be played at the Liacouras Center. And I hope all the cherry and white and the students come out for this one because they're going to see some ball game.
I hope they do show up because the Temple fan base has been inconsistent just like the team so far this year. Some games they show up and some games they don't as Harry Donahue joins us. And you mentioned the plethora of guards, and I also believe that Dalton Pepper's going to need to have a solid game defensively coming off the bench for the Temple Owls. But you mentioned it, Steve Zach and Jarrell Wright. Big men have been a problem for this Temple team all year. I don't think it gets any easier come Thursday night. What does this Temple team have to improve on defensively up against those two big men?
Well, the guy that makes it go is Tyreek Doran. And, Doran, I think, has a little bit of a score to settle. Temple was in the hunt to get him when he came out of high school. And I think he was looking to get a starter's job as a freshman. And Coach Duffy probably wasn't ready to commit to something like that. And, of course, that job now belongs to Will Cummings. I think this is going to be the key matchup. I think it's going to be Will Cummings against Tyreek Doran. And Will Cummings, as you know, is our quickest player.
Mm-hmm.
And Will Cummings can get in your face. If anything, the problem with Will has been his ability, unfortunately, to pick up fouls early in the game. And it's all going to come down to how they call it. They're going to let him play a little bit because Will can be an aggressive. He can stay with anybody in this conference. He can stay with Tyreek Doran. He's going to have to slow down Tyreek Doran because Doran, like Chaz Williams at UMass and like the kid at Duquesne, he's the guy that makes the engine run for LaSalle. So I think that's the key matchup. Will Cummings against Tyreek Doran, and each of them know the history there, and let's see who's going to come out with the better
And Cummings has been playing well as of late, and you see this Temple team all year long. I feel like this has been the key point. When are you going to be able to find that third man? And you look at this Temple team all year long. Khalif's always been able to go up there, put up 30 points, and you've seen Anthony Lee's been able to chip in with 15. But to me, they've never been able to find a consistent third man throughout the course of this whole season.
Yeah, well, that's where Scootie comes in. That's where somebody like Relier is shooting the ball well. Relier doesn't take a lot of shots. And, you see a lot of teams even play off Relier when he's out there at the foul line or the elbow because they know his first option a lot of times is the pass. Dalton Pepper has been inconsistent, although he has shown some signs of getting the ball in the basket. And, Jake OBrien is Jake OBrien. He's a catch-and-shoot guy. But, when Anthony Lee gets in foul trouble, for instance, you talked about the big guys for LaSalle on Thursday night. If Anthony has to go out early in that first half, you're going to have to rely.
Forget about it.
You're going to have to rely on Jake OBrien being your post guy on defense. And that's not why Jake OBrien is on the floor.
How do you grade Jake OBrien's defensive game right now? He's been able to get some more minutes, and his offensive game was incredible. He shot 80% up against Charlotte, but his big knock has been his defensive play because that's not, even though he's that big, that's not what he's meant to do, as you mentioned.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's not why he was brought in here. He's basically brought in here to give you some instant offense off the bench, and he has delivered that. He's like, shooting it at better than 40% from three-point range. And that's what he is. He's a catch-and-shoot guy, and teams know that. And defensively, it's a liability when you have to have Jake going up against a post guy and a guy like Jarrell Wright or Zach or somebody like that inside. It's going to be a problem. That's why Anthony Lee has to stay out of foul problems and stay on the floor as much as he can.
Before we let you run, last one here, we're talking to Harry Donahue of 1210 WPHT. He'll be on the call at the Liacouras Center. Temple LaSalle, must-win game for the Temple Owls as a very tough LaSalle team comes in here. They already beat VCU and Butler this year. And Harry, you look at the way this game's going to turn out under a minute to go. Do you think the Temple Owls are in this game? Could we see possibly a 6 straight one-point game, or do you see LaSalle possibly coming in here and doing some damage to the Owls and just putting their season to dead?
Yeah, well, LaSalle's had one. They beat Butler, didn't they, early in the season, I think, by a point or something like that?
Yeah.
So they know what it's like to go down to crunch time. Of course, they beat them without Butler's best player. But, hey, we've seen Temple, how they handle the pressure, both on the road and at home. Actually, they've done better on the road, Zach, than they have at home in these situations with the win at Dayton and then coming back and beating UMass up there. And they got a defensive stop. They didn't need a shot in the final 5 seconds by Wyatt. They come up with a great defensive stop in the last 20 seconds against UMass on Sunday. So how's it going to go? If it comes to crunch time, my money's on the Owls. How's that?
Well, I appreciate the time so much, Harry. You're always great every time you come on. I'll see you at the Liacouras Center on Thursday night, and don't be a stranger to the show. I appreciate the time, my friend.
Zach, it's going to be the best night of the season. Everybody's got to get out there.
From your lips to God's ears, I agree with you. I've always been on the bandwagon saying that fans have to get out there, and the fans, I'm not afraid to call them out, Harry. They have not been showing up that much this year.
Well, what else is there to do on a Thursday night, right? Get ready for a big weekend. It starts Thursday night, 7 o'clock.